Welcome to Redtastic. Story 1. My 26 female's dad, 54 male, had never been one for paperwork and would keep it pending till the last minute. Unfortunately, he took ill so suddenly and was dead before we could organize things properly. However, before he died, my dad had told my stepmom that if anything happens to him, I should get his 401k money. He told her she would get the house. He said this a few times, and when stepmom asked why, he told her it was because he knew I was a smart girl and would do the right thing. I have always helped my dad and stepmom sort their bills. My stepmom is a bit of a spendthrift, and she depends on dad's income, which is never enough. So the job of budgeting, buying the necessities, and even paying bills is on me. Sometimes I use my money to pay their bills. I respect my dad's wife, and I have a friendly relationship with her son, 21 male, from her first marriage. We were a blended family. One thing that brought us together was when her son, let's call him Nate, was diagnosed with SLE in his first year of college. Dad was not in the best position financially, so she asked to see me and pleaded that I put Nate on my healthcare plan since none of them could afford to pay his medical bills. I did, and Nate has been on my plan for 2 years now. He's been in and out of hospital several times, so he maxes out my plan, leaving me unable to afford any medical treatments, but I haven't had any need for major treatments, thankfully. Now, Dad's passed on and his will was read to us. He kept to his words. Dad left me his 401k and gave the house and a percentage of his money to my stepmom and her son. The problem started when we found out that my stepmom is still the beneficiary of his 401k. He made her the beneficiary back when they were newly married, and afterward would always say he would correct it. But he never did, because he had never been a fan of paperwork. She was called by his retirement company and was told that Dad left her the 401k, and since then she's been refusing to hand it over to me, even though she got the house too. I lost my cool and accused her of screwing me over after everything I've done. It only made her upset, and she began accusing me of trying to cheat her of her money. She got into a shouting fit, and I just had to leave. I was quite annoyed at the turn of events, so I called Nate, but he too got angry and told me off for trying to cheat money off a new widow. He called me a greedy, entitled thief and warned me to steer clear of his mother's money. I know I'm probably being petty and a greedy a-hole, but I feel so broken that they got everything, and I was left with nothing. Am I really the a-hole in this case? Update. I decided to let them be since they made it obvious that they want the money for themselves. Also, I removed Nate from my healthcare plan. The other day, Nate called when he found out that he's no longer on my healthcare plan. He had gone for his usual physical therapy session and was denied because he didn't have insurance. That's when he called me to cuss me out for ruining his life over a useless inheritance. I just hung up on him and blocked him. In other news, it turned out that my dad had refinanced our house and hadn't told stepmom. Now she has to make monthly payments or she's going to lose the house. Well, she has no job and has already spent a bit of the 401k on frivolous things. So I'm guessing she'll either be getting a job or will turn to me for help as usual. Unfortunately, I won't be there to sort out this mess for her. They got themselves into this. They need to get themselves out. I'm sorry about your dad's passing, OP. I'm sorry your stepmom also turned out to be a greedy bitch. None of this would have happened if your dad had a will, since all you have is word of mouth. It's pretty easy for your stepmom to screw you over and get away with it. I can't believe her son was brazen enough to be mad at you for removing him from your insurance plan, even after everything. It sucks, but I hope you never have anything to do with them ever again. Story 2. My sister and her boyfriend recently moved to a town next to mine. I was excited as we will be able to see more of each other now. Nearby, there is a downtown center that has a lot of shopping, restaurants, galleries, etc. There is one upscale restaurant that both my husband and I love. A dinner for two will run you about $200 to $250, so it's not a place we frequently go to. My sister called me last week and invited us out to dinner with them at the restaurant last night. I reminded her it was an upscale place and to take a look at the menu beforehand. because they are pricey and we can go somewhere else, tons of other great places. She said they still wanted to go. We hadn't been there in a while, so we accepted. Dinner was great. At the end of the meal, my sister excuses herself to the bathroom, and when she doesn't come back relatively soon, her boyfriend goes to find her. After a while, neither of them come back. We go to check for them and they are gone. I call and text her, and she texts back they've left, but thanks for dinner. It was just as amazing as you said it would be. I asked her what she meant, but no response. I texted again asking if she really just stuck us with the bill, and no response. I then texted her I never agreed to pay for them and that she had 30 minutes to come back to the restaurant, or I will give the restaurant all her information and they will likely involve the police. No response. At the 30-minute mark, I called and texted and got no response. So I stayed true to my word. I paid for mine and my husband's portion and gave all her information to the manager for their portion and then left. The next day, she called me back upset that she's been getting calls from the restaurant asking her to come pay or they will contact the police. I said I'm not surprised since she skipped out on her bill. She said she thought I was paying the tab since I've paid for our dinners in the past. I've paid for her plus me only dinners where the total tab was $60 max. I said this was obviously different from the other times we met for dinner. This was all 4 of us and at an upscale restaurant. And I was not paying the $450 tab and she had to cover her portion. I reminded her that she invited us out and chose the restaurant. I specifically asked if she wanted to go somewhere else, but she's the one who insisted on going to this restaurant. I never agreed to pay for everyone. She then said she thought I would just pay, but when I asked the waiter for separate checks, she realized I wasn't and left for the bathroom planning to ditch. I said that since the restaurant hadn't contacted the police yet, all she had to do was go in and pay and it would be settled. She didn't want to do that because it would be too embarrassing and asked me to cover it. I again said no and that she had to take care of it. Our family has gotten involved and I'm being pressured to just pay the bill. Am I the a-hole if I don't and let the restaurant call the police? Clearly, I will not be paying for anything ever again. Edit. Only answering a few questions. I'm seeing that I'm not the a-hole and it's only been less than an hour. This event really made me feel like a piggy bank and not a sister, which is the most upsetting. We are all early mid-30s. She's never really been this terrible, but she has almost always found a way to bring my salary into conversations. For example, the first time I met a boyfriend, we were talking about cars and he just bought a brand new car. I said I would like to get into a new car, but that I can't afford it right now. True, I'm a saver and not a spender, and her response was, "You make this much, you can definitely afford that car." This event really made me feel like a piggy bank and not a sister, which is the most upsetting. What a terrible situation you're put in, OP. Your sister obviously went into this dinner assuming you would pay for this, and then left you alone at the restaurant when it seemed the bill would be split. She orchestrated a situation where you would be pressured to pay the bill. You didn't succumb to it and now she's upset. You're not the a-hole. Tell the family members to pay it for her if they are so concerned. Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. She admitted that when you asked for 2 checks, she decided to ditch you. She has to pay for her own meals. If she invited you to dinner and chose the restaurant, she should have known that obviously you weren't going to pay for her. She sounds really childish, and the family has no business to pressure you into paying her bill. Not the a-hole. I know it's a cliche, but she played the stupid game and she won the stupid prize. And good for you for not being a doormat and just paying for her. She knew you weren't offering to pay or she wouldn't have skipped. This is all on her. Tell the family trying to get you to pay that they are more than welcome to contribute if they are so worried. Whether you do end up paying for her or in the unlikely event that she finally ponies up and pays herself, she's just shattered your trust and that's very hard to come back from. Not the a-hole. 1. She invited you out to the restaurant, so the implication is usually that she should pay if not splitting the bill. 2. She refused to change to a cheaper restaurant while believing you would pay, which makes it worse. 3. She admitted that she realized you did not intend to pay for her portion before she left. 4. She then admitted to intentionally ditching you so you would have to pay. 5. Knowing this, she then sent you a message pretending she didn't and acted like it was normal to leave without saying goodbye. And now she says it's awkward. Well, it will be a hell of a lot more awkward if the police show up. Also, she can easily play it off like, "I'm so sorry, I thought my sister was paying and I left. Here's the money." I would love to know what her boyfriend thinks. And your family should chip in if they think she shouldn't pay the bill then. Story 3. So I have a friend, let's say Mary is her name. Mary and I have known each other for a number of years, and we've only ever hung out by being in the same Alcoholics Anonymous home group. With talking to her at meetings and stuff, our relationship has usually just been me checking in with her, asking her how she is and stuff like that. We've hung out and done some step work for those of you who have an understanding of a 12-step program. And it's always been at my house or a Starbucks or something. But I drove to her house this past weekend, and she lives in the middle of the city in a super wealthy area. And for some reason, I felt incredibly uncomfortable. This is super unlike me to be classist, if that's even a word. And I noticed it was because her house was so much nicer than mine, and the area and her house just seemed so safe and warm. I come from a Russian orphanage and was adopted by not all that well-off parents, so this was something I hadn't experienced before, at least to this scale and this enormous difference in wealth. With my drug problem of the past, 4 months sober last week, I used to feel safe and comfortable on hardwood floors of not-so-nice places. And I felt at home in a bad neighborhood. So hanging out with friends who have less than me is okay with me. I don't even notice the difference. But with Mary, I feel so out of place and uncomfortable. In recovery, honesty keeps me sober, and I believe that secrets keep me sick. So I straight up told her. Over Snapchat, mind you, which I take accountability for. It could have played a role in how she reacted to my opinion. I said how I just don't feel comfortable in her house all that much and gave her a few reasons, some of which being a bit biased, and essentially I said her parents' success and her house scare me in a sense, and I'm not used to it. And she said that she didn't feel any better in my neighborhood, and the almost exact quote I remember was, "At least you were safer and more comfortable for a few hours than when you're at your house." And I got mad and set a boundary that just as it's not her fault she was born into that family, it's not my fault I was adopted into my family that wasn't able to give me all the things she has. We haven't really spoken since, and I'm not sure how to approach it when I make amends. Do I apologize for not wanting to go to her house and give it a shot? I'm already going to apologize for the words I said to express my opinion. They were mean-spirited. And I'm taking accountability. But am I a dick for not wanting to spend time at her crib? I usually would turn to my sponsor for this, but F it. It's a petty argument, so I'll give the old Reddit a try. Now for some comments. I don't know if I would go as far to say you're an a-hole, but I do think you need to try and get over this aversion. I mean, it seems a bit ridiculous to say you cannot come and enjoy someone's hospitality because they're wealthy. No, I don't think so. Sounds like you just didn't feel it in your element and she doesn't understand that. Does she know why you don't feel comfortable there or your life history? You're each at an impasse and don't feel comfortable at the places you each feel comfortable in. Maybe you guys can find some common ground where you'll both find it safe. Hi, I'm a recovering addict. Congrats to you, by the way. Having been homeless a few times during my late teens and early 20s, I'm pretty used to slumming it at this point in my life. But I do have wealthier friends, good friends who want to spend time with me. Remember, it's not her fault she was born into a wealthier family, the same that where you grew up wasn't your fault. It would definitely hurt my feelings if my home and the way I live made someone uncomfortable and she was probably lashing out because you hurt her feelings. Just hash it out with your friend. You're not an a-hole, but you would have hurt my feelings too.